Almost 7:15 on this Monday morning. Good morning to you. Now, with people making resolutions and plans for the new year, financial management is no doubt the central part of every plan. Most statistics show that South Africans do not have sound financial skills. In most cases, this has resulted in a breakdown in the relationship between people and money. Now, this morning we explore the psychology of money, and to help us do just that, we're joined in studio by Winnie Kunene, who is a financial psychologist. Good to have you. Welcome to Morning Live.
Thank you.
I tell you,
good to be here.
Some of us need psychologists when it comes to finances, because that is perhaps one of the biggest worries when it comes to any status of a human being. I mean, when you don't have money, you're not a happy person.
You know what it is? It's quite amazing that how I actually got the title to be a psychologist.
How did you? Tell us.
I am not a shrink.
Okay. Well, being a financial psychologist and the word shrink together, I wouldn't come to you either. I don't want my money to shrink.
Exactly.
So how does it work?
But interestingly enough, I was actually talking to Stevie B on Kaya FM one day, and he said, but how did you get this title? And I said, it's people who say I talk to their minds and I make sense to them, because the language of money that I speak is a lot more simpler than what other people talk about.
Yeah.
Okay. And they then coined this and said, you're a money psychologist.
Oh, money psychologist.
And whatever I have tried to kill that title, it stayed with me.
Yeah.
So you know what? I'm not resisting anymore.
Yeah, just live with it. But, in terms of, what people go, if they've got a problem with anything in their lives, they go for help.
Yeah.
And that's perhaps where it comes from.
Yes.
And let's give people help. We're sitting in 2011.
Yeah.
These years, 2010 was a tough year. 2009 was a tough year. I'm talking financially for the majority of people.
Yes.
Give us a very quick snapshot. What do you think 2011 holds in store for us?
The reports that we hear worldwide, you listen to CNN, you listen to SABC too, all the channels are talking positively that the financial world is recovering from the recession, everything might look nice and it's all hunky-dory. But when you deal with personal finance in particular, and when people are specifically in debt, I suggest people should not be too optimistic and start spending a lot of money unnecessarily. Yeah. I suggest people should continue to settle their debt. Debt is no good. If you have debt, you don't have peace of mind, especially when you have overwhelming debt that you cannot handle it anymore. The best way is to get rid of debt. And it is a mind thing, and it is a will thing. You've got to want to do it. I mean, the other day I was talking to a woman. I was blown away. You know what she says to me? Excuse me. I have been on debt counseling. I have been on everything possible to help me get rid of my debt. I am still in debt. In fact, I seem to be worse off than when I started. And then we talked about health issues a little bit, and she asked me, do you go to the gym? And I said, yeah, now and then. She says, I must also join the gym, and in fact, I wanted to do it next week. And I said, hang on a second, do you have cash? And she says, no, I'll just do a debit order. And I'm saying, no, answer my question. Do you have cash in the bank account? Where is the debit order money going to come from? Somehow, people believe, there are some who believe that for as long as I have a banking account and I have a checkbook and I can arrange a debit order, whether I have money in it or not,
it doesn't matter.
Issue. Yeah. Somehow they just don't get it.
It's a frightening way of thinking, and yet what you're saying is right, because a lot of people are thinking, I won't worry about it, the bank will worry about it. The bank can pay it off. And that's, I have heard people from that where, they're perhaps going and buying a fancy car or a bigger house or whatever it may be, and saying, let the bank worry about it, it's fine.
That's amazing.
But it's not. It's not that simple. I mean, let's talk about blacklisting. Once your name has been blacklisted, what happens to you?
You see, blacklisting, wow, what you're actually telling the world is that you are incapable of handling your finances. That's how serious that is. That you cannot be trusted to continue with your payments. And
do you ever clear your name once you're blacklisted?
Yes, you can.
You can, but how hard is that?
But you see, you've got to make sure that you pay off everything to the last cent of what you owe before you can actually say, listen, here's a piece of paper that is proof that I've actually paid and it was not my doing. It's hard work. It's hard work. You know, it's much better to continue to maintain your reputation rather than having to repair it over time, because it does take a while and it is an effort. You need energy to have to restore your reputation again. So it is always much better to be faithful in what you do on a monthly basis.
So as we start the new year, how do you give people advice as to what to priorities? How do you set out a map for yourself for 2011 to say, right, these are the priorities, this is what I have to look at, and then we work it down from there? What do you do?
We had a discussion in the back room there just a few minutes ago. Here's the thing, here's a principle, because I teach young children from the ages of 10 years old up until 120 years old.
Wow.
Okay. So, and just on money and careers. Okay. Now, here's a principle that I teach, and remember it, please. And for everybody else who's listening out there, remember this: if you do not have your own goals, you will continue to fulfill the goals of those who have them.
That is good. Because every shopkeeper and every business has a goal to take your money.
Exactly.
And that's the reality.
Exactly. Even your friends. Even your friends will go to an extent of saving up, because they've got the goals. They go to an extent of saving up their own money, buying fancy cars because they can afford it. Okay? And if I don't have the money, I look at them and I'm thinking, what is it that I'm not doing that they're doing? And then I go and put myself in debt. Why? Because I want to fit in.
So when you say goals, are you saying make a goal to say, look, I'm going to pay off my car, pay off my house?
What do you want in this life? What do you want to achieve as a person? You know, where do you want to be? Do you wanna have a house if you don't have a house? What kind of car do you want? Your children, do you want them to be educated? What kind of lifestyle do you want to live as an individual? Because that will ultimately determine what your goals should be in general, but most importantly, your goals are always linked to money. That's how you get to have your money goals. So before I even do anything in teaching people, we have to get what people want. What is your desire? How do you want to live your life? Because once you have that determined, we can then be able to plot out what the money map is going to look like.
All right, so that's your lesson for this day, the 10th of January, beginning of 2011. What is your goal for the year when it comes to finances? And then we'll get you in to talk about, once we've made up those goals, how do we achieve them? Winnie, we have to end it here. Thank you so much for joining us on the program.
My pleasure.
Winnie Kunene, I suppose a titled financial psychologist, and now we understand why after chatting to you. All right, Rob, let's get a traffic update.